C'est très important pour moi. You are welcome to this particular section. We have quite an interesting thing to look at today, and I want to believe you can hear me. Please indicate you can hear me. I want to be very sure because I want to start the class now. I'm waiting for you. It's been 4 minutes. Let's begin. We're looking at les prépositions en français. We're looking at prepositions in French. And then we're going to be looking at it in a way that will help you in dialogue and in conversation generally. How do we go about them? Now, imagine you have a sentence like this: Je suis à Madrid. Je suis à Madrid. This is it on the chat box there. Je suis à Madrid. Now, if you say Je suis à Madrid, that is, I am at Madrid. That phoneme, that particular word, a, is a preposition. In this study, our goal is to examine basic prepositions that you need to master as a French language student because you need them in conversation. You're going to know what they mean. There are prepositions we use with the names of towns. On a des prépositions que nous employons avec les noms de villes, les noms de pays, et même les noms de continents. We have prepositions we use with the names of towns, of countries, as well as the names of continents. Now, let's look at the one we use with the names of cities. But before we go deep into the preposition, I want to just make you understand some few things. Number one, names of towns, names of cities generally don't take an article. Generally. For example, you might say Paris. You don't need to say le Paris. You can say Vienne. You don't need to say la Vienne. You can say Tokyo. You don't need to say le Tokyo. Those are names of cities, and they are used generally without the aid of an article, though they are nouns. The next thing to note is the fact that the names of country and continents, generally, they are preceded by articles. I'll take it again. The names of countries, les noms des pays et des continents sont généralement précédés par des articles. They are preceded by articles. Take, for example, France is a country. I cannot just say France. I'm going to say la France. La France. That's number one. Number two example, Japan. Japan is a country. It's not Tokyo. Tokyo is a city in Japan. When I want to say Japan, I cannot just say Japan. I will say le Japon. Number three example, États-Unis, that is the United States. I cannot just say États-Unis, I will say les États-Unis. Another example of a continent now, Africa, for example. I cannot say Afrique. No, I'm going to say l'Afrique. I'm going to say l'Afrique. So for names of cities, they don't need article to precede them. But for names of countries, names of continents, is a must that the article precedes them in French language structure. Are there exceptions? Of course. We have something like Haiti. You don't need an article to precede that. It's an exception to the rule. You have something like Cuba. You don't need an article. It's an exception to the rule. You have something like Israel. You don't need an article. It's an exception to the rule. But beyond those exceptions, names of countries, names of continents are preceded. They are introduced by articles. Generally, in French, names of countries that ends with E are feminine. I want to take it again. The names of countries that ends with letter E, they are feminine in gender. An example is this: Switzerland, I will say la Suisse. France, we say la France. Holland, we say la Hollande. These are names of countries. But for names of countries like Brazil, we have le Brésil, le Canada, le Japon. Those ones are masculine. But when the names of countries end in E, most of the time they are feminine. Are there exceptions? Yes, there are exceptions. An example is Mexico. We say le Mexique. We have Cambodia. We say le Cambodge. Mozambique, we say le Mozambique. Although they all end with letter E. Having established that fact, that the names of countries, the names of continents are preceded by an article, and also establishing the fact that names of cities are not always preceded by articles, we want to go further now and look at how we deploy prepositions. How are prepositions used? What are the ones we are looking at? We're looking at preposition a, that is a with accent grave. We're looking at on, en. We're looking at o, aux. Now, they indicate the names of towns, the names of countries, and the names of country where someone is at a particular time or where somebody is going to. Let's say I'm going to Nigeria, I'm going to the United States, I'm going to the Caribbeans. To indicate those places, I'm going to make use of articles. Let's take an example. Article a, the article a, with the name of a town. We have, for example, je suis à Paris. That means I am at Paris. So with that article a, I'm able to indicate the exact location where I am located. Je suis à Paris. Another example, je suis à Lisbon. I am at Lisbon. Another example is je suis à Madrid. I am at Madrid. Now, let's use Benin, for example. I will say je suis à Benin. I am at Benin. When I have that particular article a, and it comes, the names of the town come after it, I am indicating my current location. That is how it works. That's where I am. Now, let's say I want to go to that place. I'm not yet there. I want to go to that particular place. For example, I want to go to France, to France. Or perhaps I want to go to Paris now. I'm dealing with names of cities. I will say, je vais à Paris. Let's say I'm going to Benin. I traveled somewhere and I'm coming back to Benin. And I want to say I'm going to Benin. I will say, je vais à Benin. So whether I am saying I'm going to the place or I am already at that particular place, I use that article, that preposition a, to indicate my current location and the place I am going to. The exception to that rule is when you're dealing with something like Israel, you say, je suis en Israël. I am in Israel. Now, we have looked at it from the aspect of your location within a city. Let's come to names of countries that are feminine. I told you initially, France is feminine. Italy is feminine. Russia is feminine. Europe as a continent is feminine. Africa is feminine. Now, when you are dealing with names of countries and continents, you want to indicate the fact that you are there or you are going to that country. You will not use a. I cannot say je vais à France. No. I cannot say je vais en Afrique if I'm in America. No. I cannot also say je vais en États-Unis. No. That's because these are names of countries and names of continents. Unlike names of cities that use the article are to indicate you are going there or you are there, we use en, on to indicate the fact that we are going to a country or we are in a country or a continent. Look at the examples we have before you. For example, I could say, Je suis en France. I am in France. Je suis en France. If I want to say I'm in Italy, I'm going to say Je suis en Italie. I am in Italy. Je suis en Italie. Now, let's say I'm in Russia. I want to say I'm in Russia. I'm going to say Je suis en Russie. Je suis en Russie. Now, that is saying I am in that particular place. I want to say I am going to Africa or I'm going to Europe. The jackpot syndrome in Africa now. Nigeria to be precise. You want to say I'm going to Europe. I'm going to America. We're going to say je vais en Europe. I am going to Europe. If I was in Europe, I want to come to Africa, I'll say je vais en Afrique. Je vais en Afrique. And so you see, for names of countries, for names of continents that are feminine, ending with E, we use the preposition on and to indicate that we are there or we are going to be there. However, there are times we are dealing with the names of countries, and these countries, they are masculine in gender. These countries are plural. Take, for example, Brazil. We call it le Brésil. I cannot say je vais en Brésil. No. I can say je vais en France because France is feminine. But when I come to Brazil, I'm going to say je suis au Brésil or je vais au Brésil. AU in that instance because Brazil is singular. Let's say I'm going to Canada where a lot of Nigerians jackpot to, for example. Canada is masculine. I'm not going to say je vais en Canada. No. I'm going to say je vais au Canada. If it's Japan, I say je vais au Japan. Nigeria is masculine. I'm going to say je vais au Nigeria. I'm going to Nigeria. But if it's a plural name, for example, the United States of America, we call it les États-Unis. I'm going to say je vais aux États-Unis. It's going to be AUX. Je vais aux États-Unis. So quickly, let me recap all we have said in the last 15 minutes or so. Number one, names of countries, names of cities, names of continents can be located in speech, in dialogue, using articles. Now, for names of cities like Paris, Vienne, you're talking about Tokyo, you don't necessarily need to use an article when you are listing them, basically. But for names of countries and continents, of course, you must use the article when you are bringing them up. Now, when we are trying to say we are in a particular city, a particular town, a city, we use the article a with accent grave. Je vais à Paris. I'm going to Paris. I say je suis à Paris. I am in Paris. Let me use Benin. Uniben is located in Benin, for example. I'm going to say je suis à Benin because Benin is a city. Je vais à Benin. I'm going to Benin. That is A for names of cities. On, en, as a preposition. It is used for feminine countries and continents. Example, France is feminine. We say je suis en France. I'm in France. I say je vais en France. I'm going to France. Je suis en Italie. I'm at Italy. I will say je vais en Italy. That is how you say that. The next thing you want to take note, I also mentioned about the feminine countries. We have the masculine ones: Brazil, Japan, Canada, Nigeria. Those are masculine countries, or plurals: États-Unis, United States. We are not going to use on, we are going to use au, au. So it's going to be je suis au Brésil or je vais au Brésil. That is how it is used. So as we bring this aspect, what must you note? We use on before a singular country that begins with a vowel, even though it is masculine. Example is Iran. Iran is a masculine country, but because it begins with a vowel, instead of using O, we're going to say on. Je vais en Iran. I'm going to Iran. Another example is Angola in Africa. Angola. Angola is masculine. However, we are going to use on instead of O because Angola begins with a vowel. So it's going to be je vais en Angola or je suis en Angola. Please, you want to take note of them. These are very vital information as far as prepositions are concerned. Now, having stressed on the fact that we use these French prepositions to indicate a city, to indicate a feminine country and continent, as well as a masculine one, there are some prepositions which you must know if your journey of French is going to be very smooth. And one of them, I'm going to touch on three. The first one is done. So we have the singular and the plural form. So the first one I'm looking at is done. D-A-N-S. It means in. The second one is sue. S-U-R. Sue. The third one is sue. S-O-U-S. Sue. Done. When do we use done? How do we use done? Dunkelton. When do we use it? You use done when you are referring to a particular place that is closed. Let's take a house, for example. A house is an enclosed space. A classroom is an enclosed space. So I'm going to say dans la classe. I'm going to say dans la maison. Use dans with those particular closed spaces. What about sue? S-U-R. We use sue when you are referring to a surface. A surface. Now, we all have pictures. We call picture photo in French. And so you can say sur la photo. It says sur la photo. Sur la photo. Now, talking about done once again, we also have the exterior of things. That is de la maison. Instead of you to say done, you want about the outside of a house, you say that the exterior part, you say à l'extérieur de la maison. Now, we also have surfaces like umbrella. When you want to refer to stuff like that, you said sous la parapluie. Sous la parapluie. That is for umbrella. And so you should understand that we say je suis dans le train. We say I am in the train. You cannot say je suis sur le train. Now in English you say I am on the train. But in French you say I am in the train because the train is an enclosed space. I give you another example. Dans la rue. Dans la rue. I am in the street. The street is an enclosed space, though it's very large, but you are in the street. Now we have sur une chaise. The chair is a surface. So you have sur une chaise. They have encore dans le journal. That's your newspaper. And information is inside the newspaper. They have à la radio. These are other expressions that you will need to take note of as far as French language and preposition is concerned. So I've looked at 6 different things thus far. Number 1, are used for name of cities that you are currently in or you are going to. Number 2 thing, on, used for feminine countries and continents. Number 3 is O, masculine countries, then O, AUX now for plural. Then we move straight to look at few prepositions, and we have done. You have su. You have su. For done is used when for an enclosed space. Dans la classe. Dans la maison. Dans le bureau. Dans la bibliothèque. In a closed space, you use dans as a preposition to refer to those places. Sur for a surface. Sur le toit. Sur la photo. Sur la chaise. Then we have, I also give you a lot of expressions. We have dans la rue, sur une chaise, dans le journal, but you have à la radio, and you have à la télévision. Beyond these few prepositions, we want to take it a step further. We are going to look at stuff like dedans. We have sit down, dedans, D-E-D-A-N. We have dehors, D-E-H-O-R-S. Dedans means inside. Dehors means outside. Then you have dessus, D-E-S-S-U-S. And then you have dessous, D-E-S-S-O-U-S. They are not followed by a noun. Now, for the other prepositions, your su, your don, your su, a noun comes after them. But these last two categories I mentioned, dedans, dehors, dessus, dessous, they are not followed by a noun. Let's have an example. Le chat est sur le lit. That is, the cat is on the bed. Le chat est sur le lit. And I say, oui, yes, is on top. I'm going to say, il est dessus. Il est dessus. So after I use dessus, I'm not going to use a noun again. Another example. We have la balle est sous le lit. La balle est sous le lit. Oui, elle est dessous. So you see, where you have sous with noun, you can now use dessus without repeating the noun. Here you have sous followed by a noun. You can now have dessous without repeating the noun. Le chat est dans la maison. Dans will now become il est dedans, is inside. Or you say, il est dehors, is outside. So those are the basic prepositions you need to master. Now, before we wrap it up, we want to touch on 4 other things, 5 to be precise. We have seen dessus as inside. We have seen dessous as inside as well. Now we have au-dessus, that is talking about something that is very high. Au-dessus is high. Now, the next thing you want to think of is au-dessous de. We have au-dessus du 5e étage, that is on top of the 5th floor. Au-dessus, on top of the 5th floor, au 6e étage. Au-dessus du 5e étage, au 6e étage, that is on top of. We have au-dessous de, beneath, underneath. We have the 4e étage. These are key ones to note. Finally, before we call it a day, we have à côté, beside. We have près de, close to. We have loin de. When you say à côté de, you are talking about proximity. It's not close. Now, a town very close to Benin is very close. That is Ekiadolo. Now, Ekiadolo is a town very close to Benin.